happy to be able to have this interview this morning. It shines a light on an issue we're all affected by. We talk about nonstop, and many of us have been affected by in one way or another. And that, of course, is the problem of crime. And we are specifically spotlighting an initiative born of a couple, husband and wife, and it's called Project 600. And they're here in studio, Isa Mohammed and Karen Salma Adam, to tell us more about the initiative. Good morning and welcome to you, Isa and Karen. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having us on, Ardene.
Good morning, Ardene. Thank you so much for having us. And I'd like to wish a good morning as well to all your listeners, locally, regionally, and internationally. And say I'm very happy to be here this morning with you all.
And if Isa's voice sounds a little familiar, it's because he has been on this frequency before. In fact, not too long ago, it might have been just about 2 months ago, I interviewed you.
Yes, just for a couple of months.
Yes, yeah, we were talking about things astronomical. Because Isa also wears other hats like most citizens do, especially those who take up this kind of initiative. Isa is the president of the Caribbean Institute of Astronomy. So I interviewed him a couple of months ago about a phenomena around a full moon. I'm trying to remember, what was
the
it?
Super blue moon.
The super blue moon.
Yes.
That's what it was, because there was a lot more talk, I think, than usual about it.
Yes, there was.
Yes. And he's also the director and sales manager at Inayat's printing company. And Karen is human resources manager in Chagonas, and so we are both very grateful to have you both here to tell us more about Project 600, which is really meant to culminate in a march on the 10th of December, which happens to be World Human Rights Day. I'm sure that was intentional.
That was definitely intentional, yes.
So tell me, what moved you as a couple involved in business, astronomy? What moved you to take this very bold step, what we may consider in Trinidad and Tobago to be a very bold step? It's not easy to put yourself in the public domain and what we may call the line of fire when we talk about speaking out on issues of any kind. We have also seen several people who've chosen to go this route in the past, of course, end up in a political, one political movement or another, and therefore there tends to be some suspicion, and I'm sorry to begin there, but I know it's the cynicism that you must be met with, right? It reflects the cynicism of the society, I think. But I would really like to know what moved you to this point.
You know, you got everything out there really early. Yes. I mean, it's a difficult thing to put yourself in this position.
Yeah.
And we are in a society where everything is very politically charged, and there's a lot of cynicism. Let me, just from my perspective on what drove me before we could address some of those other things. Just the thing about crime is that it's been bad for decades. So it's not new, right? It's been bad for decades, but somehow, to me, recently it's been different. Growing up in the 90s, yeah, crime was bad. We had murders even in the 2000s, but you know, the economy was doing well, and you just had this feeling that prosperity would sort of lead to security. Like eventually down the road, you know, we're doing well and things will get better. And maybe it was just a fool's hope, because it turns out it didn't really get better. And now we're at a point where it feels like we're at a tipping point where it's starting to slide, and that maybe there isn't that light at the end of the tunnel that we thought was going to be there. And for me personally, what really tipped it over is thinking about my kids, because it's one thing for us. Look, they have to inherit whatever it is we do. You know, the decisions and the actions that we take will be gone long before them. And they're the ones who are going to have to live with what we set out here for them. And it's just this feeling that things are going bad. And one day I might have to face a grandchild that says, you know, Trinidad was like, the third wealthiest country in the Western Hemisphere at one point. You guys had everything. It's like everything was going good for you. What happened? Right? And how do I respond to that, we don't have a lot of power to do a lot of things, right? We're just regular people, regular citizens. We don't have access to resources and the machinery of the state and all that kind of stuff. We can't physically do anything. But we live in a country where, thank God, we do have freedom of expression. And we have a civic duty and responsibility to raise our voices if we see something going wrong. And the way I see it is that if you have nothing else but that voice, I mean, we could have no power, completely none, but the state gives us this little bit of power to raise your voice. Then we have, like, it's a duty and an obligation to raise your voice as much as you possibly can, because things are going really, really badly. And it's like silence is consent. I know people say, what are you going to accomplish? What's going to change, right? December the 11th, the day after the march, what's going to be different? We can't content ourselves with being silent on the premise that if we take action, there'll be no change. We need to take that action. We need to raise our voices. We need to make it heard that this is not going well and changes need to happen.
Is this the first time you've been moved to raise your voice in this manner?
It's something that I think a lot of us think about all the time. And I think it's something that a lot of us feel that, somebody else will do it. We look to our leaders, there's so many people in our society who speak about crime. They're all the experts, the criminologists, all of them very well-meaning and talented people in their own rights. And, many times we tend to think, well, these are the ones who have the answers to the questions. These are the experts. These are the leaders. These are the warriors. These are the people they will do it. And there's a point where it's not happening. And nobody's doing it. And so this question then rears its head. Well, then, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? How long will we wait for some hero to rise out of the ashes to solve our problems? I think as a young person especially, we tend to think that, somebody else in society will handle this. That's not for us. We're not big, we're not the Sawatis, we're not the ones, in those circles. But there's been such an absence of anything substantial. And even when we do see people try to engage with the issue, I'm sorry, but the way that the issue has been engaged with by those that we would look up to, I think as of recent has been lacking, and lacking very, very badly. And for us to see that what is taking place and to sit by and do nothing, that is consent to what's going on. And I do not consent to what's going on. I absolutely do not consent to what's going on. We need better. And if we don't say to those who we have put to lead us that we need better, if we don't say it to them, then they have license to carry on. And I don't think that we should silence ourselves.
So,
on this issue.
I mean, just to get a specific answer to the question about whether this is the first time you're lending your voice to this or any cause in such a manner is.
Oh, no.
Answer, yes.
I've dealt in a little bit of social activism before.
Okay.
I've dealt in a little bit of social activism before. So the most recent one, or the one that I'll say, is that I did work with the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, right? Because that was another issue where, I mean, there's multiple ways to look at it, but at the end of the day, there was a whole segment of our population that was being locked out of a livelihood, and for better or for worse, there were people suffering as a result of it. So we did what we could in the best way we could to try to help in whatever we can to get that industry moving and going forward again. So this is not the first time in social activism for me. So it's, taking action on issues I care about is something that I've done. And, with astronomy, I've been at this for 20 years. right? And in that case, it's education and science and children and trying to foster this bright vision of a future for our kids. So doing things to give back to society is very much part of who I am and part of, who I've always been. But of course, this is now very different from those things.
Oh, of course.
As you said, it's politically charged.
Yes.
Right. And I want to take a moment to just speak about this one here. Anytime we take action on crime in Trinidad and Tobago today, it is politically charged. It has become a political issue, right? But there needs to be some avenue for people to express how they feel outside of the political environment and the political arena. And by that, the whole purpose of Project 600, is for people to come together in solidarity with the victims of the crime, of all crimes in Trinidad and Tobago, and to show empathy, support, share our grief, share our suffering. It's about us coming together as a people to recognize what's going on. Okay. One of the things we very much are not doing is we are not going to be anti-government. Mm-hmm. And we are not going to be pro any other group. That's not what this is about. We're not here to attack and we're not here to bash anybody.
Well, we'll definitely return to that. Karen, to bring you into the conversation as a co-creator of this initiative, I'm interested in how you've managed to galvanize your own community to join this initiative. And by community, I mean extended family, physical community, business community as well, even. How have you all managed to do that kind of work?
I mean, it all, starts at home, as they say. So it is the shared feeling of being unsafe, of, relationships gone bad. We just had a gentleman walk into his ex-wife's business place, shoot her, kill himself, kill an innocent bystander. So anybody disgruntled with me could just walk into my business place and take aim at me or my family or somebody out there in society. I don't think that is a road we need to be going down. I think everybody feels the same way. It's not hard to get that kind of, like you said, galvanized feeling of fear, of listen, this is not where we should be going. A lot of people generally do support the idea, but it's the same feeling that you said. You're going to join this and then, well, what's next? Mm-hmm. And our point is, we don't expect a change overnight, but we do expect that when your citizens speak, you listen. We do expect grown men and women in power, when your citizens speak to you, you listen and you put aside whatever line you are at and come together and make this thing happen. I was born with a party card. I was not given a party card at birth. I was born and given a birth certificate, which makes me a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. First and foremost, my responsibility as a citizen, one of the rights, like Issa rightfully said, I have is to speak up, right? So, and again, I work in human resource every day. I deal with conflicts every day. I don't get personal. You do what you need to do to resolve your conflicts and move on.
When you think of what is at the heart of what we're experiencing, to me, it's very complex. Maybe to some people, it's simple. We've been seeing this escalate over time or deteriorate, depending on how you wish to see it. That scenario you described with the man who killed his ex-wife himself and the innocent bystander, to me it speaks so much more about the state of well-being or lack thereof of our people, of many of our people, because this is by no means, sadly, a unique one-off incident.
So that brings me to what I wanted to get out of this. If at least we could restart or start a national conversation on non-violent conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. What is, to me, it takes more strength to face your problems logically and with words than it does to pick up a gun or a weapon. It's easy to get into a rage and pick up a weapon and attack somebody. It's harder to stop and think and work this out and figure out, where is this anger coming from? Mm-hmm. Where is this desperation coming from? Why do I not have an outlet to deal with this? So yeah, it starts at home. It starts with us, and like you said, it does start with, going beyond that and finding a way to solve things without violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the violence, and I see here that it does specify that the march itself is against murder and violent crime. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because nowadays when we think about crime, we think about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everything that we call blue collar crime as opposed to white collar crime, right? And it happens, and the reality is that it's pervasive in the society. Crime, literally as criminal activity, whatever that looks like, whatever form it takes, it is pervasive. It is not just it's not limited to a certain social group or anything like that. But of course, what we often are talking about is the violent incarnation. That's what we're talking about, and that's what you are focused on.
I think we want to be careful here to mention that we want solidarity with the victims of all crimes. Yes, we're heavily focused on the violent crimes, but you can't have, when you speak about root causes, you can't have a society where certain types of crimes are dealt with and certain other types of crimes are not dealt with. We either have rule of law or we don't have rule of law. And we absolutely cannot encourage a situation where social status or economic status determines whether or not you can get away with a crime. You understand? This is part of what we have to come to terms with as a society. Crime is very complex. I know a good friend of mine, Dr. Nasser Mustafa, is a sociologist at UE, and he always said, and it was years and years ago, that poverty doesn't cause crime, but poverty alongside prosperity. Now that is a recipe for crime.
You're talking about the gap between the two.
The gap, the inequality that exists. Now, an explanation for something is not a justification for it. So we have to be very careful. We're not justifying anybody's actions. But when we're faced with a societal challenge, we have to dig underneath. We have mental health problems, right? Apart from mental health problems, we have people in this country who are really struggling. When I worked with the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, I had the privilege of visiting several landfills in Trinidad and Tobago. And we met people by the hundreds whose lives depended on scavenging scrap and rubbish from the dumps. So these are people who would go into the dumps and pick whatever they could out of the rubbish to make their livelihoods. There were people living in the landfills. And for anybody who hasn't been into a landfill, you really have to understand there's a whole sensory environment in there, just the way it smells, the dust, the flies. And so we pride ourselves as being what the third wealthiest country in the Caribbean, or oil and gas economy and industrialized and developed nation status. No, we have a lot of people who are suffering very badly in this country, and you have to. It's all tangled together like a web. So I find it's difficult to say that the police could solve crime.
Yeah.
No, they're part, right? But they're just part. They're not the whole thing.
So is it that through this initiative, the idea is to encourage people to take individual and collective responsibility? That's what I'm getting from you both. But is that one of the fundamental takeaways, you would say, Karen?
Individual responsibility in what sense?
Well, the fact that everybody has personal responsibility for the society we live in. We may think that one of the interesting things for me to observe routinely in these conversations is how we collectively are very quick to turn it into us and them. And the criminals are one group and we are another group. But the things that I see on a daily basis on the road, the way that we break laws without any consideration for, because of course there are no consequences in the minds of many people, right? So
I think,
that's part of it.
Generally, we probably like to think we're good citizens.
Good citizens, but we litter, we throw stuff out of our cars.
People. Yeah.
And some people would say that has nothing to do with crime, right? But how do you see personal responsibility fitting into the bigger conversation about where the society is headed?
I think, for example, there's so much bombardment of crime, violent crime activity around us, people dying on a regular basis, being murdered or whatnot. We have become very, I feel, hardened. I think in an attempt to protect our mental health and psyche, we have become a little bit more antagonistic than we probably ought to be. We are quick to be a lot more defensive and on the attack. And that is a problem. It doesn't help the situation. So to ask a people to change a mentality is not the easiest thing when you're basically just trying to survive sometimes. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. There is nothing more I as an individual can do to feel safe. But there's probably more we can do as an individual to be empathetic and make others feel safe, or make others feel like you're not alone. You're in this fight together. So let's start acting like that.
Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you're constantly looking over your shoulder?
Constantly.
And you think it has to do with being a woman as well?
To an extent, yeah. I go to the gym. I can't go to the gym 2 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't dare. People, if I do that and something happens to me,
they would blame
it's
you.
me.
Yeah.
Right?
That is the
That is
crazy
a fact,
thing. It's,
right? But my husband good and he's fine. Honestly, during COVID, I saw more of my neighbors because you had nowhere to go to exercise. A lot of us came out in the street and exercised. Kids were riding bikes. But it's changed now. I don't see that anymore. Right? I think there's a lot that we can probably do. Maybe not we can do to ease our peace of mind. I think we need to be more empathetic, be calmer in how we react to certain things. You get a bad drive on the road, you don't know what the next man is probably going through.
Yeah.
Like my husband, they say, pretend you have a pregnant wife and you can't, you're trying to go to the hospital.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to give the excuse to get on with your day and not turn into the aggressor.
Yeah, and
right?
and not make that the thing that angers you for the rest of the morning.
Exactly.
And you still bite up over it.
And that could spiral out.
Yes, of course.
And it spreads.
Yeah.
But I think the kind of language people in charge use as well need to change.
What do you mean?
Because look, you're reading the newspaper and you're seeing Prime Minister doesn't want to meet with opposition because he doesn't want the opposition to dictate the terms of the meeting. Then you have opposition leader talking about Gary Griffith to banker.
Right.
Come on.
Right. You're saying it doesn't help.
You had a caller who called yesterday and he said, why are we talking about Gary and Kamala and Rowley? We should be talking about crime. And he hit the nail on the head. Just put your egos aside. Sit down at the table. You have the answers. There's nothing to rewrite, You have all the experts around you, all the solutions around you. Starting from the community, go up. You have things, you have resources, you have plans. Get something done. That's so hard. You can't put the ego aside and save your citizens. You clearly, everybody reading the same news, right? You have access to all the facts and figures, more than us probably. Just get it done. I cannot fathom us as a younger generation looking to these older ones in charge, like my husband said. And that is what we have.
So what you are hoping to achieve on the 10th of December is to get the attention of the authorities, those charged with the responsibility to manage the situation.
We want, like you expressed the idea of personal responsibility, and I mentioned that going broader to come together as a community. And I said at the very beginning, I was born not given a party card. I was born with a birth certificate, just like how these people in charge, same thing. They were born as a citizen first of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Your duty as a leader, one of them anyway, I would imagine, is to make sure your people and your country is safe. think I'm safe in saying that is not how we feel right now. So you need to do something to very much drastically change that direction.
And do you get the impression that people are willing to come out to march?
So we live in a society where anytime anybody says anything about crime right now, the first thing they jump out and say is politics, right? So we have an uphill battle to get over that hump. We speak about collective responsibility. Apart from the collective responsibility of us doing the right thing day to day in our lives, setting an example for following rule of law, we also have a collective responsibility to take action when action needs to be taken. And I think we've lost our culture for protest in this country over the years. Now, maybe rightfully so. People have done marches and protests before, and so they feel that, it hasn't worked in the past, or somebody used it for some political purpose, and so now if the opposition leader calls up protests against crime, nobody's going to go because that's just them. If any other political party, Gary Gifford or whoever, anybody calls something, now it's all about, what's their agenda? What is your agenda? Where are you going with this? And along the way, we've lost the culture for standing up, citizens for standing up and taking action. And one of the, I keep telling people the result for this is for us. We're not doing this for somebody else. And we're not doing this to force anybody to take any specific action, right? We are doing this for ourselves. We need to stand up and to be counted and to say that when the chips were on the table, that we voiced our concerns, we raised our hands, and we put our chips in the pool of those who stand against any type of crime in the country. So part of this is rekindling that culture, this idea that we need to move together, that you could go to the savannah, you could go to the Port of Spain, you could go in front of the parliament, you could go wherever, and you could voice your concern and not be viewed as or treated as some part of some other organization with some agenda. This is a democracy, and part of a healthy democracy is citizens standing up for themselves. And quite frankly, I think it's been called out that the problem here isn't with one political party and one political leader. We have a problem across the board with all of those who are in positions of influence. And this inability to sit down and work together. Crime is the single most important, is the greatest challenge our nation faces today. We are the 6th most homicidal country on earth. This is paradise. God is a Trinity, and we are the 6th most homicidal country on earth. This is a problem. You're trying to tell me 250 other countries doing better than us and only 5 doing worse, and that somehow is supposed to be acceptable? This is a national issue. This is bigger than any person. This is bigger than any individual. This is something that all of us together, this is a collective failure upon all of us, that we were blessed with so much. Look at how many countries have so little. Look at the challenges some other countries face, and yet they're less homicidal than us. It's not right. And we as a people need to get back that national identity, this thing of being Trinidadian, Tobagonian, this idea that Trinidad and Tobago is something special and something to be protected and something to be cherished, and that is bigger than any political party. Trinidad and Tobago is the most beautiful place on earth. Our people are the most beautiful people on earth. I mean, when you think about the fact that you could have a temple, a mosque, and a church sharing the same compound in Trinidad. For any religious festival, you have everybody coming together, eating everybody food. Man, I went to a Catholic school. I went to a Hindu school. I'm a Muslim. I know all the prayers. I know all the prayers.
That is always the thing I return to. Some people think it's superficial. To a degree, I agree, because I don't feel like we've really achieved a true sense of nationhood in that way. But that being so, I feel like we have successfully managed to live harmoniously in relation to when we think about differences, because there are many differences among us when you think of the various groups who've come here and the demographics as regards religion and ethnicity. I think we've done something outstanding. I think it's not something to be understated, and I don't think we value it very much. So I'm with you 100% on that. it's something to
Yeah,
celebrate.
It's when you travel and you explain to people how we live together in this country, what we have here is special.
And I think that's when people experience it, really get it, when it really hits home, when they leave.
When you leave.
And they understand, oh, having grown up in Trinidad, I am equipped for X or Y. I understand certain nuances that other people may miss. Even though we may even take it a step too far with our sense of humor, our pecan culture, some may call many things that we make fun of, poke fun at, racist, but I think those are all ways in which we have managed to kind of diffuse some of those tensions. It's something I am less concerned about. I think there was a point in my life where I felt a little, Trinidad, we're so prejudiced, we're so racist, the jokes that we make, and sometimes I still cringe, but I also appreciate the role that plays in making us who we are. Tell us a little bit about the march and the event on the 10th of December. It's going to happen in Port of Spain at the Queen's Park Savannah, and there'll be a rally at Whitehall.
So Project 600 is a call for 600 volunteers to carry 600 flags around the Queen's Park Savannah. Now, each of those flags representing a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago who would have lost their life to homicide over the past year. We know in 2022 the figure stood at 605 murders for the year, and this year it's expected to be approximately, we don't know what the exact figure will be, but it's looking to be close to 600 as well. So this is why the number 600 was chosen, to represent those victims of homicide. The flags, now you see I have the flag here, right? I know this is radio, it's not TV.
No, but we have a live stream. We have a Facebook live stream.
We have a live stream.
Yes.
I'm showing you what the flag looks like.
You want some help?
There we go.
Okay.
This is our flag. The flag is a white flag with a black stripe. Now, you would see it looks sort of like our national flag.
Very much like it.
But there's no red.
Yes.
And the reason that there's no red is because the blood has been drained from our people. We are looking at what's left. We have been bled and we are down to the bone, and our people are suffering. This is what the flag represents. We are looking for 600 people to carry these 600 flags, and we mean to place them around the entire perimeter of the savannah. We want the savannah ringed in a circle of flags.
Place them how? On the ground?
Oh, no, we'll be physically carrying them on a pole. Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you say placed, you're not trying to plant it into the savannah or anything. I mean, that would be cool. But I know you need permission.
That might require a different level
of
of permission.
Yes.
We are reaching out specifically to families who would victims of crime over the past year, and we are hoping as much as possible to get those families of the victims to hold a flag and to own a flag, probably one that would have represented one of their family members who would have lost their lives.
And what has that response been like so far from that particular constituency of victims?
We've now started the rollout. We have people that are researching all, and we've sent out a bunch of letters, and we have a few positive responses. Not where we need to be yet, but we're working. And we're getting some of those responses, and we're waiting on a whole bunch of others.
And if someone listening, whom, let's say, you haven't yet reached out to, would like to get in touch with you all, how do they make contact?
Right. So our website is project600tt.com, project600tt.com. We're on Facebook, Project 600. We're on Instagram, Project 600tt. We're on TikTok. We are on all the social media platforms. And there's a number that you could WhatsApp as well. I'll try to pull up that number. There's a number that you could WhatsApp as well. But the easiest way is to go onto the website, and there's a button to click that you would like to help or you'd like to volunteer. You could click that button and you could sign up to be part of it, and you'll get pulled into our communication system. And from there, you'd be able to communicate. And
so you've managed to mobilize a lot of volunteer support to actually assist with this effort.
Yes.
How have you done that?
It's a team of young people. Now, you start, of course, with your family and friends, right? You start with your family and friends, but then through our contacts, I mean, it's really a group of young people who want to do something. We were not, the last big crime march in Trinidad was the Stephen Cadi's thing.
Yes, Keith Noel.
The Keith
committee.
Noel 136 committee, right? That was what, 18 years ago.
That was a long time, yes.
It was. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget how much time passes, right? And that was the last really big one. And so 18 years has passed. There's a whole generation that wasn't part of that or around for that, and we want to rope them into this thing. So it's friends, it's family, it's co-workers, and people from our social circles who were interested and motivated and passionate about doing this sort of project.
So when, let's say, you get the attention of the PM or other people in authority on that day, I have to ask, as I suppose everybody else has, what next? What then?
Somebody asked me, they asked me the same question slightly differently. Said, if you had the Prime Minister in front of you right now, what would you say to him?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's tough if you actually have the Prime Minister in front of
course.
you. Yeah, it changes everything, right? But I think I would say something along the lines of, I understand. I mean, this thing is difficult, right? And the job is sometimes very thankless. Sometimes you are hemmed in, even within your own organization, by forces that are, even as the Prime Minister, by forces that are sometimes outside of your control. You can't do everything. You're not Superman. I understand that, right? So let's start from this position of understanding. Having said that, you, sir, are the ones who has his hands on the levers that could make changes in the society. We don't. I don't. And we need changes to be made because my children have to grow up in this country. And I'm very, very concerned about the country that they're going to be growing up. I will do anything for my kids. I will do anything for my kids. And you are the one who has that power. I don't have the power. I can't do anything. I can't affect any change.
You really believe that? You're talking about change at that higher level.
I'm speaking about that change at the higher level.
Okay.
The Prime Minister is the one who has the most power
Right.
in this country. If anybody has power, it's him. And I would ask him to simply do what you can. Put aside what you have to put aside. Bring in who you have to bring in. Do whatever. Recognize that whatever's happening now is not good enough. And so we need to do something different. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. You are the head of the national security apparatus of the country. I don't have your intelligence. I don't have your information. I don't have your knowledge. I'm not going to create a 10-point plan. We have 1 million of those. We have the Scott Drug report. We have the Scotland Yard report. We have the Selwyn Ryan report. We have multiple reports from Professor Deo Saran. We have so many, all these things. We need to start making serious interventions. Not incremental changes, not iterative changes. We need an intervention when it comes to crime in Trinidad and Tobago because this thing is robbing us. It is robbing us of our national identity.
So we don't have too much time left, and I would like to get some callers in on the show. I know that there have been many messages coming through the Facebook live stream. There seems to be quite a vibrant discussion happening there. 622-3937. We will be taking a call shortly. But I also wanted to ask, since the appeal is largely to those who have been affected by crime, particularly violent crime, those who've lost loved ones, etc., is your focus also some form of healing?
Absolutely.
Yes. And how do you see that healing being actualized and your role in it?
I mean, even if it's a cry day, you come out and you just, all that's been building up in you, you just have the support around you to let it out. To me, that in itself is a good thing. You need a release. Because even these people who have been victims of crime, who have lost loved ones, may not have had any kind of closure. They may not know who would have committed the act. They're still living with that fear of, we don't know the circumstances. So the idea that you have people who are saying, look, we want to empathize with you. We want you to, we want to grieve with you. I think that could go a long way if people could just come out and show that kind of love and support to each other.
Yeah, I think I feel like with crime, it's like a singing feeling in the pit of my stomach.
Yeah.
And I want to know that other people share that feeling. I want to know that it's not just me feeling like everything is like staring into a deep dark hole in front of me. I want to know that there are other people, that I'm not crazy, that it's not just me, and I'm not here by myself. And I suspect other people want to feel the same way. We want to come together and grieve about this.
Is this an effort at creating community even for you?
Yeah.
I mean, without it meaning to sound a bit selfish.
It is entirely, listen, it is selfish. I'm telling you, this is selfish. I am doing this for me and my kids. I need to know that I have done everything I could to give them the future that they deserve. Yes, that is selfish. And if that's a crime, I'm sorry. But it is 100% selfish. I need to do this for my family.
So I think on that point of seeking and maybe to some extent craving community, I think that's something we don't really talk about enough, especially when we are dealing with challenging situations like crime, like reeling from the effects of violent crime as a family, maybe as a geographical community, whatever it is. But I see a lot of value in that community aspect of it. So we have had a couple calls from before. I'm sorry I didn't take them, but we were in the middle of the conversation. But we're ready to take your calls now. Please do try back. Good morning, welcome.
Ardene and your two guests here, a blessed morning to you. You see, I love this program and I respect you two persons for bringing it out. You are the young people of this nation. And let me show you what the people in high places do. Our Prime Minister knows that Monday the opposition coming to give a speech. He come out there and give his speech for she to answer back. And we the addicts are causing all this problem in this country. The people of this country is not standing up for issues. That's why every one of us has fears in our mind through the people in high places. The church is in it. When you talk about the Bible, you talk about politics. When you talk about politics, it comes to the Bible. And we are the sufferers. We taxpayers paying these people upstairs. And they're picking the pocket every single day. And people in this country is not getting a fair deal. And they are not spending the taxpayers' money properly. They are the pipe. We are the pipers, and they are the speakers for the pipers. A chubby and a box of food. Have a blessed and wonderful day to you.
All right, thank you very much, Kola. Good morning, welcome. Oops, we lost that one. Good morning, welcome.
Oh, good morning.
Yes, you're live on air, Kola.
Oh, yes, dear. Thank you very much. I have a problem, and my problem is this, I would say it. When people start to tell you that it is non-political and it's non-political, I mean, your very essence, your very being will pick up that. How come that is not political and you're hearing this, you're hearing that? The experts...
Caller, sorry, we're getting some feedback from you. I'm not sure if your radio might be on in the background.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Is it better now?
So far, yes.
Oh, good, dear. Listen, you know, you're hearing that this is non-political. The experts tell you, everybody knows the air you breathe. Everything is political. So when people come out with that, that is my first step. The march before this one that was non-political as well, and was when the union people came out there and had a march and claimed that it was non-political. So I think that we need honesty to come out and say there are so many ways of trying to help this country and to heal this nation. And first of all is honesty. That's where we have to take it from. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Ardene. Good morning, Ardene.
Yes, I'm here, caller.
Yes. Now, if you have a government in this country, you have the opposition, and if the opposition not cooperating with the government, they're fighting against the government. Don't care what rule, law the government try to put. The opposition all the time bringing something to counteract that. From it then they talk about this crime talk. You have Pararat jump up and bother. We walk with the Gary. Like the Gary is parliament. Gary has no parliament. That means it's politics. The commentator. So this talk where you're talking about doing like if you know the government is this and the government is that. That is the problem. Cooperate with the government.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, caller. You're live on air.
Okay, fine. You know, there's one name that I've not heard come up at all in relation to solving crime in this country, and that name is Lee Kuan Yew. Have we any lessons to learn from him in solving crime? I'll listen on it off you.
Okay, I'm not sure if you have any responses to that question.
Not only the Lee Kuan Yew one, but I mean, there's one thing I'd like to say is that with regards to the politics and that sort of thing, yeah, we are not saying that it's just the government. We're saying it's everybody who are in positions of power need to do better for us. So I want to address that point. It's everybody in positions of influence and power, in politics and out of politics, need to get together and do better for the country. Just to be clear on that one.
All right. Thank you for that. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning, caller. You're live on air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I just want to share a little observation about the flag. As he mentioned about the red part being obliterated when they have the march. Have you ever noticed that the same line that goes across to say no crime at Diagonal Cross and also no parking, and it also is used in our flag as a cross-out flag, as a cross-out sign, and that has some sort of negative implications in my thing. We start off the anthem with forged, then we have a cross-out sign to cross out, and the black is the cross-out, it's what crosses out everything, and the black and white. And other things, God bless his nation, is last rather than first. All these little things, I think, point us in a particular direction. Okay? Just an observation. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Listen, I got onto this program late, but some of what I heard bothers me. I'm hearing from this gentleman that he apparently doesn't have a role to play in shaping our society. He is saying that he's selfish. What are you saying? I mean, everyone has a part to play. So where does selfishness come from?
Well, he did define what selfishness means to him, caller. He didn't say it in a vacuum.
Well, listen,
he gave some context.
Listen to me. I am saying that you cannot. This is politics I'm hearing there. What I'm hearing is politics and nothing else. If you are coming here with suggestions, give your suggestions. Don't just come and talk in a vacuum. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning, caller. You're live on air.
Well, there might be a degree of good intent here. I understand where the gentleman might be coming from as far as, you know, the future of his family and the nation's kids and stuff like that. But you always have to ask yourself the question, after you might galvanize this sort of support and stuff like that, what next? What you will do with that sort of support?
All right, Cole, I have to end here. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize we were at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much for your contribution and for everyone else who's contributed. For some very quick closing remarks from Issa and Karen.
Yeah, I just wanted to pass on the phone number as well, another method of communication.
Sure.
So the phone number is 462-7194. That's 462-7194. We're available via WhatsApp there as well. And I just would like to see as much of us come out as possible. And I hope people believe that, like the last caller was talking about honesty, I am nothing but honest when I say that I think crime is a real national issue that people need to come out and voice support in helping this situation resolve.
Thank you so much, Issa. I'm so sorry, but we do have to go. Can you do it in 30 seconds, please?
Very quickly, I just want to express my appreciation, Ardene, for having us on the program. Thank you so very much. It was wonderful being here and wonderful chatting with you. Anytime I could chat with you again, I'd be very happy to do it. With regards to our march, look, guys, we're doing this for us, for ourselves, to come together to show solidarity with the victims and to share in our pain and our grief about what's going on, right? So I'm looking forward to everybody, every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of party, regardless of affiliation or whatever, everyone joining us at the Queen's Park Savannah on December 10th.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Project 600. You can learn more about them online.